Good morning, beautiful yogis. Welcome to a lovely Saturday morning, although by the time I've uploaded this video it will probably be Tuesday, so you know. Okay, today's video is on the topic of how yoga helps me find love and helps me maintain love. And I was very wary actually about posting this video because it's a little bit like asking to be tripped up, isn't it? When something's good, I think certainly in the way my mind works, if I talk about it too much, it's like you jinx it. But that's a really unhealthy, fear-based way of thinking. And I'm going on the idea that I am spreading love and positivity, and that can only be a good thing. Now, let's just get this straight, ladies and gentlemen. I am no life coach. I'm not a love expert or a sex therapist. I'm just a girl who's had some experiences, so this is a video about my life experiences and how within my own individual situation, yoga and a regular meditation practice helps me find somebody who is my Mr. Sunshine, and he won't be named. I can't feature him because he's a really private person and I respect that, and I'm not going to discuss all the ins and outs of our relationship, but I'd like to talk about the state of mind that I was in when I met him and how we make our routine and the day-to-day grind of everyday life work in favour of our relationship. So we've been together about 2 years, which I know is laughable, it's not very long, is it? But I'll discuss how I'll discuss later on in the video how I feel like this is going to be a relationship that goes the distance. But yeah, I'm a real human being and I can't control other people. So bear that in mind. This is a video for the moment, right here and the now, which is a very happy place. Anyway, so before I met Mr. Sunshine, I had about 1.5 years where I was single. I'd come out of a really heavy relationship prior to that. No disrespect to that person. That person was an amazing human being. We just weren't right for each other. And within that year, I realised that within that past relationship, I had been completely lost. And the problem is when you are in the desert of your own making, how on earth can you possibly be the oasis and be the best version of yourself for somebody else? So my first key point is, before you embark on a relationship, no one's perfect, so I'm not saying you have to be perfect, but create space and time within your life to focus on you. And that's not a selfish endeavour, that is actually going to be a really selfless endeavour when you create an environment within yourself that has greater capacity to love, to take on the burden of a relationship, because even the good ones come with work, but also to make you resilient and strong enough to deal with all the emotions that come with being in a relationship. And there's a Buddhist principle actually. It was in a book I read by the Dalai Lama that said friends and family and loved ones cause you stress. And I remember really disagreeing with it at first. I said, no, they're wonderful, they're amazing, they don't cause me stress. But actually, relationships do, because people have their own minds, and the problem occurs where someone's mindset doesn't match your mindset and thus conflict arises. So I spent that 1.5 years of being single, first of all having loads of fun. I realised it was the time to be completely selfish, to go off and travel, to surf as much as I could, but equally I took time out of my day to meditate. And I'm not saying meditate is a cure-all, because unfortunately life is short, it's sexually transmitted, and it's fatal, and it produces lots of hardships. So even with a solid meditation and yoga practice, there will be times when you get usurped by just the day-to-day grind of life. However, that being said, my meditation practice and my yoga, first of all, helped me build up a bit of a buffer zone. So when stresses and things happened that were hard in my life, it was like I had some resilience. So that was the first thing that my meditation and yoga practice provided. The second thing was, it gave me time and space to figure out what I actually wanted. And I'm going to ask you a question. Have you, or do you, have an idea of somebody and go for that same idea over and over and over again in your relationships? And I'm going to say how it is. For me, that was a hippie, artistic, surfer dude kind of vibe. I love that idea of a person, but the problem is, and it's very much the same as me, I may come across as a hippie chick, but I am my own person, and I was finding that I kept going for the idea of somebody, and when I actually really got to know them and they really got to know me, we were like going completely different directions. So that's my second or third one, I can't remember which one I'm up to now. You need time and space to figure out what you're actually seeking. And I have this theory, and it's not my theory, it's a world-known theory, that the law of attraction, so what you put out, you get back. So I was seeking very artistic and, sort of hippie boys, but actually what I needed was somebody who was open-minded and tolerant and patient, but were perhaps more analytical thinking and a bit more practical, because that was a balance for me. And I'm not saying you can't be a hippie person and be with a hippie person, or you can't be an outdoorsy person and be with an outdoorsy person. It doesn't always work like that. But what you do need to decide what you want are some bare minimums. And we're not talking about it's got to have a car and it's got to look a certain way, it's got to be 6 foot or a shoe. It's not an aesthetic that we're striving for. It's the ideals in, like for me, an example would be I wanted to be with somebody that had the curiosity to go travel, but also had that sort of deep sense of home, because that's what I'm like. I love to travel, I love adventures, but actually deep down I'm a bit of a homely girl. I nest and I like to have a base, and I needed to find somebody like that. And another point, another key thing that I would love for you guys to take on board is that as beautiful as the poetry is, that you are two half souls and you come together, actually you're not two half souls, you are one person, and that other person is an individual. I actually think Hill Gibran's beautiful poems on love are a bit more on point, and he says something along the lines of you are like two pillars stood next to each other. If you were to lean too much on one another, you'll compromise the structure of the building, but if you stand side by side, you'll weather the storms, or something to that effect. And I think it's a bit like having your left hand and your right hand. You're different but the same. So I think it's very important to question yourself before you embark on a relationship. Am I feeling lost? Am I lacking something within myself and I'm trying to find that in another person? And inevitably, you will rely on another person, because that's how love works. You have to be vulnerable with people. But equally, you kind of got to have your shit together to give yourselves a starting chance. And then that leads me on to, okay, so you may have found somebody, and that is awesome, and I really wish you well and lots of luck. So how do we go forward with someone? How do we keep that forward momentum whilst still sharing our lives? And I think you need to ask yourself the question, are they making me the best version of myself, and am I making them the best version of themselves? Because often we can think we're doing a lot of good for somebody, but actually we're causing them harm, and vice versa. So one of the ways I started to realise that I was with somebody really, really amazing and important within my life was that in the space we've been together, he encouraged me to go and get my yoga qualification. I've set up a business, he's supported me to do that. We've travelled together, we've shared experiences together. So he has motivated me, and it's not to say that I didn't have the motivation before, but he's helped me realise that I am capable of achieving a lot of the things. And whilst I don't always get it right, He's my biggest champion and I am him. So if you are starting on a relationship with somebody, ask yourself that question: Are we bringing out the best of each other? Because that's a good sign that you're in something that's potentially going to go the distance. And I'm going to just have a little bit of a Mama Hobbs moment here. This is something my mum said to me. She and my father have been together since they were 16. They're still together and they are, so in love. They really are. And something mum said to me, which always stuck, was, are you happy more times than you're sad? So we're not talking about, the grand scheme of life. So, because often work, friends, family, stress, whatever can interrupt the flow of your relationship. But you two, as people in a relationship together, are you two making yourselves happy more times than you're sad? And I'll give you an example within my own experience. I am generally a very happy, positive person. I'm a glass half full kind of person. And I was with somebody that was the complete opposite of that. And whilst it was okay in the beginning because we kind of balanced each other out, eventually that outlook started to chafe a little bit, and we obviously didn't go the distance because I was starting to feel drained. And that leads me on to my sort of final point. What's that saying? Your vibe attracts your tribe. So make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that elevate your consciousness, elevate your spirit, and not drain you. And that's something to be aware of. Is your relationship draining you and making you feel fatigued and weary? Now, there's going to be points, obviously, because no one's perfect. Conflict happens, there's arguments. There's going to be points where a relationship can be draining, but you have to mark how often that's happening, how often you feel drained and weary by the relationship. And what helped me throughout my life has been keeping a journal, because you can see day by day the scope of the relationship. And one of the ways that I realised some unhealthy relationships were unhealthy was that I flipped through just randomly one day my journal, and it was like every other entry was, we had this argument, this happened, and it was obviously, I was just writing down how I felt, and seeing it on the paper was a bit like, okay, well there's the evidence that you're not as happy as you should be. So I'm going to finish with this final sort of piece of information, and that is, as much as you can get yourself in the right mind, and when I say right mindset, I mean a healthy one for you, and as much as you can sort of try your best, compromise, work through arguments, all that stuff, you've also got to kind of just roll with it a little bit, a lot actually. You've got to be vulnerable, you've got to have an open heart to enable love to kind of get in there. So whilst I can give you some pointers, there's no hard and fast advice, is there? There's no blueprint, because if there was, we'd all be doing it, and life doesn't work like that. So trust your instinct, and I always have this little mantra in my head: head, heart and gut. What is your head? That logical, practical thing, thinking about it. Heart, what are your desires? Address your desires, because they're the fleeting things. And then last but not least, your gut. What is your gut instinct and your intuition telling you? And for me, I feel awesome. Mr. Sunshine is my Mr. Sunshine. And I'm not taking that for granted, and I hope by posting this video I'm not being a bit of a plonker, but you've got to tell your truth, and I'm all about the authenticity, so it's good. And I hope in sharing a few of my own individual philosophies and ideas about life, they can help you in your path, because it's the advice of others and hearing other people's stories that's helps me along my way. And that's it, isn't it really? Love is just a series of stories, so you've got to find out whether you're reading from the same book. Okay, on that note, I've waffled enough, you've got things to do. So I'm going to bid you farewell, and good luck, love bugs. Good luck. I hope you have fulfilling, sustainable and enjoyable relationships.